glasses, a little shorter. Well, experts say that it is a problem that is not going away anytime soon. Cybercrimes. Well, hackers cost victims about $400 billion a year, and Romania in southeastern Europe is considered the cybercrime capital of the world. Our next guest says that the attacks are getting more brazen and more sophisticated, but that there are some ways that consumers can protect themselves. Cybersecurity expert and Berkeley Varitronics Systems CEO Scott Schober joins us now to tell us how. Welcome, Scott. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, let's start with this. Why Romania?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the most common place that would happen, but it's actually a very common spot for very smart people, excellent universities. So there's great minds, and they learn a lot at the universities and at the schools at a very young age about IT, software, and a lot of security. So they're more prevalent to become hackers that come out of there.
All right, they're skilled, so they're
Very
hacking,
skilled,
and,
yes.
so they know what to do. What then are companies doing to combat this? We know that there have obviously been, companies themselves and their systems that have been hacked into, but also like third-party companies that seem to have no firewalls.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. They try to do a lot of things to prevent it, but you got to keep in mind, too, the technology that these cyber hackers are using is the latest and greatest. So they're always one step ahead. So even though they may put out the best firewalls and other security measures, it's hard because they're going to find a weak point and a way to get around them.
Well, what are some of the things that people can do besides just, changing your passwords? And, do we all just have to walk around with bundles of cash or what?
Well, they got to be, the most obvious schemes are really what they're targeting. People that will try to buy large merchandise, cars. They'll place ads on eBay and Amazon and other things trying to sell items of high value. And people are very quickly, they give out their information, the credit card information. They send checks in some cases. And they're fake products. They're not even selling it. They're trying to get your information and get you to compromise and send money over, and that's a problem.
Well, we know that it's concentrated in Romania. So what international agencies are sort of, coming down and cracking down on these folks that are infiltrating our cyber systems?
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, certainly they're part of the EU. And therefore, they're actually being regulated and monitored closely. But still, Romania is targeting the U.S. very specifically because they think that the individuals here are very wealthy. And about 80% of the cyber crimes out of Romania are targeted toward U.S. citizens as well as corporations. So anybody within the U.S. has to be especially careful not to give out information, passwords, or any type of financial information they think they're buying from one location. But again, it could be just a cyber crime that's orchestrated out of Romania.
Are they also interested in people's buying habits? You know how, sort of we're learning, the footprint, if you will, of a consumer. Are people actually trying to, buy that too, if you will?
Oh, sure. Well, everything's got a price on it, unfortunately. So they're monitoring and using all that information, this big data that's gathered. It's used, obviously, for monitoring bad individuals, but the bad guys on the dark side are doing the same thing. They're using that information most of the time to put together a puzzle, so they can actually find out about you and I and consumers, what our buying habits are, and use that for selling identity theft and all kinds of different things.
So what's the best thing that a consumer can do besides just, don't give your card to strangers, right?
Yeah, well, certainly don't give your card to strangers. Don't trust anything. Especially the most common thing that everybody does, and I hear it all the time, they get an email, it looks legitimate, they click on the URL there, and it takes them to another site, and they slowly lose the information by giving out their information. Not necessarily Social Security. Most people are obvious. They're not going to do that. But birth date, maybe their spouse's name, any little bit of information that a cyber thief can use, they put together this puzzle, so eventually they could sell your identity and make a lot of money.
So better for you to go someplace and go to the site, but
right
don't take
Yep,
the stuff that they're sending your way.
Sure. Yeah, good point.
All right, Scott
Gotta be
Schober,
careful.
cybersecurity expert. Thanks so much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me on.
On Arise Exchange. All right, well, just ahead, pressure mounting over sponsorships at Sochi. On Arise Exchange returns.